Hi, welcome back. For those of you who are just joining us, my name is Jessica. Today I wanted to share with you what we did for literature this year. This year I had a first grader and a second grader. So let's start with what we did for the second grader. So he was reading the Classic Starts books this year, and at first he was a little reluctant to read them. But I remember loving these when I was a kid, and we followed Well-Trained Mind, and in there she talks about reading the easy versions of these novels, so then when they get older and they find the real stories, that they won't be intimidated by it because they already have a familiarity with the story. And so it helps them jump into novels better. So he read all these this year, except this one, but he'll read that pretty soon. And the way I got him over his reluctance to read was bribing him. I know, you're not supposed to bribe your kids, but it works. So what I did is, first we were just doing a chapter a day, and that was a little much for him. He didn't want to do that. So then I started telling him if he read for 20 minutes, he could either have an otter pop or play on my phone for 20 minutes. And the only games I have on my phone are educational games. So that was a great motivator. And he started doing it 2 to 3 times a day, even though I said just my phone just 1 time a day. And now he likes to read, and it's been amazing. In the beginning of the year, he also finished up the ABC Mysteries books, which were really fun. He read most of them last year, though. Then my first grader started the year with easy readers. And he got to Frog and Toad. Looks like this on the inside, just so you can kind of get an idea of the font. Nice big font, sweet stories. And then my mom gave him this book. I had this book when I was a kid. It's called On We Go. It's very old. 1949 was the copyright on it. The stories back then were written a lot better than stories nowadays for kids for the most part. All the stories are interesting. They're not just, I don't know, so many stories are so boring for beginning readers. Yes, these are really fun. Snip, Snap, and Snare. Or that's what the kids' names are, Snip and his brothers. Yeah, if you can get your hands on one of these books, you should definitely do that. Because we love these. And I would just have him. He just reads like one section. They're not quite chapters, but oops. Yeah, so he's not quite done with that yet. Almost, though. He started Alice in Wonderland. He liked it, but he has a bad habit of seeing a book and starting it, and then he sees another one he wants to start, so he drops it. So I'm hoping to get him back into this pretty soon. He just finished Bambi. I was surprised he read it. I mean, that's pretty good for a first grader, I think. I'm sure he didn't get all the words in it, but he told me what happened in it, so yeah. I'll show you Alice in Wonderland's text so you can see that. Yeah, it's a little bigger than Bambi. There's some pictures. A little easier. And then for literature that I read aloud, I got most of these books off of the Ambleside Online website. I'll link it below. I kind of follow a mix of Ambleside Online and Well-Trained Mind. The Family Under the Bridge was the first one we did. It was a really sweet story, and it takes place around Christmas time, so in case you wanted to schedule that. The Burgess Seashore book for children. This went more with our marine biology, but it is considered a living book because you learn about the ocean animals through the eyes of a skunk and a fox, and a seagull explaining stuff to them. It's through a story. Little Britches. I didn't read this one to them yet. I'm going to read it to them over the summer. This book was so good. I had never read it before, but I'd heard it gets a little intense because one of the main characters dies, but it was really, really good. I know my kids are going to like this. Their grandpa has horses, so they're going to love this book. It was really good. And it's a true story. And there's more than one, so I'll have to get the other ones and read it to them too. Viking Tales, read in the beginning of the year. This was okay. It wasn't my favorite. This one was really good too. I'd never read this before, and we didn't quite get to this one. I pre-read it to make sure it was going to be okay for them, but I'll be reading this to them over the summer as well. It's really, really good. I think it will help motivate them to want to study more and be more diligent in school. This one is one of my favorite books from childhood. And so I definitely read this to them this year, and they loved it. My oldest son, the second grader, loved it so much he's now reading it on his own, which makes me so happy. I Understood Betsy. This is also a wonderful story, which I'd never heard of before. Also from the Ambleside website. It's about a girl that goes and lives with some relatives and how she changes and stuff. It's really, really good. And then for audiobooks, we did these in the car. Did the whole Little House on the Prairie series. But my kids could probably read these themselves, the level they're at. My kids absolutely adored these. If you want more time for school, definitely do literature in the car as you drive around. through a lot of books. We also did the first 3 books of the My Side of the Mountain. I didn't know they had a 4th book when we were doing it. And then we also did Charlotte's Web. So lots of literature this year, plus probably several hundred books from the library, nonfiction stuff for history and science and things. I'll leave a link for everything below. Oh, like and subscribe, and leave your favorite book you love to read to your kids. I'd love to get a list going, and I'll see you next time.